Good afternoon and welcome to PDC. We're going to hand it over to Mr. Tom Martin for time for planning or a minute for planning or whatever your preference today, Tom.
I think I'm supposed to still keep it to a minute, so
Okay.
we'll get going. Good afternoon, members of council. A couple of things you guys might be interested in is we've received a conditional use permit application for a property on 802 Court Street. That property is zoned to B1. They are proposing to convert it into 4 residential units. We've received a site plan proposing construction of a 3,180 square foot car wash and parking improvements at 2735 Wards Road. That's just below going south of the Wawa that's under construction. We had a subdivision plat for 3 lots at 5206 Tyriana Road. Another subdivision plat proposing the creation of 60 lots for single family homes at 5153 Boonesboro Road. The building permit for the Wawa at 101 Marigold Court, which is Rosedale, has been issued. And then some neat things that we don't normally get to talk to you about is these are some condemned structures that are no longer condemned, one of which was due to a fire at 212 Windhurst Drive. All of those repairs have been completed, and that structure is no longer condemned. Also, 1107 Polk Street, that building had been condemned since 2025. All the renovations have been completed. 1714 Monroe Street, another condemned structure, those repairs have been done, also no longer condemned. And then a permit for 3102 Memorial Avenue, that was a fire earlier in April of this year. I believe it might have been arson, but they have pulled permits to renovate that building. So a lot of good things going on.
Thank you, Tom.
Question?
Yeah, go ahead.
802 Court Street, which was Zone B1. What is it zone now for the 4 residentials?
It's zoned to B1, which
Okay.
is limited business office.
They're looking
However,
for CUP.
by CUP, if approved by council, they could do the residential. Yes, sir.
Any other questions for Mr. Martin? All right. Thank you so
you.
much. We are going to kick it over to Greg as we go, I'm assuming, Gaynell, but
Yes,
Okay.
Thank you. We have major project updates next for both Public Works and Water Resources. I think Clay Simmons is going to walk us through some and Gaynell through others, and I will turn it over to them so as they sort out which projects belong to which.
Hello, Lee Newland is on vacation, so that's why I'm here in his stead to report on the transportation projects. The first one is Bedford Avenue. The total cost is $24 million. We do need some additional funding from VDOT, hopefully some smart scale funding in the amount of $8.8 million. We hope to start in spring of 27 and finish in winter of 29 or 30. We've got a preliminary bridge report that is submitted to VDOT for review, and once they approve that, we'll be able to move on. That will actually get the project back on time and back on budget once VDOT approves that, and then we'll move on with the rest of the project. Basically, this project is going to be replacing the bridge. It's rated poor, and we are going to add a sidewalk in that particular area. Breezewood Drive improvements, there are a total of $10.3 million. By the way, there is a map because I think, Mr. Deemer, you like the map. So there's a map right there in front of you. Sorry, I should have told you that, of the project locations so you know where they are. We've got additional funding of $486,000 through revenue sharing. We anticipate construction to start in summer of 27 and finish in winter of 2029. We're in 60% design. We had a public hearing June 25th at Heritage Baptist Church, and it was fairly well attended. It was a workshop type event, and there was about 20 people there, along with our consulting engineer getting input from the public. This project will entail improving the pavement, adding sidewalks, increasing the lane width a little bit, and improving some of the drainage. And the project is currently on time and on budget. Fifth Street project is a $7.3 million project. It is fully funded. We are in the throes of construction right now. We anticipate finishing late this year or early next year in winter. We're working on underground utilities at this time. It is on time and on budget, but we are hoping that they can add some additional crews and speed it up a little bit and get it done a little early. And so we're hoping on that. This project will finish the 5th Street corridor, all the improvements along this corridor. We're replacing utilities as needed, removing the concrete pavement and providing new asphalt, improving drainage, and also improving ADA access with improved sidewalks. This is a downtown renewal project. You'll hear a little bit more probably from Scott Parkins on this. We actually provide construction administration for this, and our part in this is to fund the actual streetscapes, and I'll let Scott get into this. Our part of it on the public works side is about $6.1 million, and that is just for streetscape improvements and those types of things. And I believe there's a ribbon cutting coming up here in July 21st. So we're excited about that. And Main Street will be done. John Lynch Bridge, $7.2 million project. We started construction in winter. We anticipated it to be done in July of this 2026. The railings are underway now, and the project is going to be a little late. And there's a couple of reasons for that. The railings are behind because they're actually having to drill the holes on site to make sure that they fit properly, and that has slowed progress down tremendously. We're also have some things on back order, like ADA compliant plates for the bridge joints, as well as inlet coverings so that it's safe for pedestrians. Those are back ordered. We still anticipate being done end of August, beginning of September for that project. 501 221 intersection, $93 million project. You all are all very familiar with this project, and we're really happy. We got the grant recently, the $24.9 million. That was huge for us. So that was a huge win for us. Now the project appears to be fully funded, so that's good news. And we have a public hearing scheduled August 20th at Heritage Baptist Church to move that project forward. The project is on time and on budget.
We do have a pop-up scheduled for the work session today to recognize some of the public works staff who worked really hard on that grant. So I just wanted to let you guys know as we're going through this that is planned for 4 o'clock for the full work session.
The Hollins Mill Road Bridge, $19.1 million project. It is rated poor. It hopefully will be fully funded with additional revenue sharing. We should start in fall of 2029. This should actually address the low water bridge that is a part of the trail, so that will improve that. That low water bridge is often you cannot use it because it's covered in water. So we plan to improve that. People will tend to cross the road there, little kids with bikes crossing Hollins Mill Road. So that's going to be a part of this improvement. So we will make a better access to the trail from there. The preliminary bridge report is being prepared now, and then that'll go to VDOT for approval, and it is on time and on budget. And I will turn it over to Clay for his, and I'll just keep clicking
If we could actually do a quick pause. I don't know if anybody else has questions. I always have questions, so I'll pause here. Does anyone have questions for Gaynell? Okay. All right, I'm going to run through just a couple really quick.
Okay.
And thank you so much for the updates here. This is awesome. And I don't remember what that question was, but we'll skip to this one. Okay. So with Breezewood Drive improvements, I'm just curious how we prioritize sidewalks and if that has to do with the revenue sharing arrangement or why. Just because when I drive Breezewood Drive, I don't typically see pedestrian traffic, and maybe I'm missing it. And I love sidewalks. I'd love to connect more of our sidewalks. And I know Tom loves sidewalks. I love sidewalks. But I'm not sure, just from a fiscal standpoint, if Breezewood Drive would be where I would typically prioritize it. So I'm just curious how that plays out when it comes to revenue sharing, the decisions that are made with that element.
What happened with that is this was actually a 3-phase project, and this last phase got eliminated. So we had intended to go all the way to the end of the project, which would have been at the apartments.
Okay.
And we have been getting complaints about not being able to walk. There are walkable places there, Aldi, Sheets. So there are places that you can walk. We have been getting complaints.
Okay.
This pavement is in poor condition, so we were going to have to do something. The drainage is in poor condition. We
Yep.
had to do something. So we prioritized this in the CIP as a complete transportation project and not just
Got it.
repave it.
Okay. That's helpful as far as thought process. I really appreciate that. And I'm a fan of multimodal. I was a bike commuter for years in the city, which is a lot friendlier to bikes now. And then with Holland's Mill Bridge, lighting, is there opportunity for, and I don't know how that would play into this project per se, but the lighting has been a real struggle, at least for me. I know Kurt likes to complain about his old eyes. I think I'm going to have a new prescript here when I go in. So lighting along in there, what can be done to just increase visibility as well as kind of that multimodal element with pedestrians?
Yeah, I think what we'll do is I will pass this on to Lee Newland, and we can definitely consider that as a part of the project. We are just in preliminary design, so this is the time to make suggestions like that. So as we move through design, that we can look at what we can do to improve the lighting through there.
Okay, that
I
would.
think there is power down there because the park is lit a little bit, but
There
the
is.
road is kind of dark,
It
especially
is.
under the bridge.
Yeah.
Okay, I will definitely pass that along.
Yeah, just with the trees, it gets really shadowy, and
Right.
there have been people walking, and it's really hard to see people walking at dusk and at night. Okay, I think that's all I had, other than the congratulations on 501-221. But
That bridge last time on Houseman Road.
I'm sorry.
When was the bridge on Houseman Road? When was that last done?
Oh gosh, I couldn't really
Okay.
tell you, quite honestly.
Okay.
Obviously not since I've been a deputy director or assistant director, so that's about all I can tell you.
I think.
But it is in poor condition,
Yep.
so we definitely need to do something with it. And we're just taking that opportunity to improve the trail access.
yeah,
Excellent. Thank you.
thank you. All right.
Okay, good afternoon. Thank you for having me here today. Talk about Miller Park Pool for a second. The project consists of the removal and replacement of the pool, along with some minor interior renovations to the existing pool house. Total cost of the project is $10.5 million. It's fully funded. Anticipated construction start is going to be summer of this year. Anticipated construction finish will be summer of next year. And we are just now wrapping up design. The project is out for bid, so we're in sort of that transitional phase with the project. We expect to have bids back next week. And currently, the project is on time and on budget. There we go. Talking about the, moving on to the public library renovation. Total cost is $12.2 million. Construction is fully funded. The FF&E was approved in the FY27 budget. Construction started March of 2026. The anticipated construction finish is summer of 2027. We are under construction currently, well underway, with the notice to proceed being issued March of 2026. Currently, the project is on time and it's on budget. And those are my two, I believe.
Any questions?
For the pool, do you have any preliminary designs? I haven't seen that yet, I don't think.
Yes, sir. That got released. We'd be happy to get it back to you. We put out a public notice for that, showing the latest concept design.
Okay.
Be happy
Might
to
have
send
missed
that
that.
to you again.
Thank you. 'Cause I went to like Splash Valley or something in Roanoke County the other day and just see what they had. I was trying to make a comparison of what they had, which is a county project versus what we're doing here in Lynchburg. So I'll look at that when I get another copy of it.
Sure. Be
Thank you.
happy to
Appreciate
do
it.
that.
Thanks so much, and we'll hand it over to Mr. Tim Mitchell.
Members of the committee, Mayor. It's my pleasure to give you an update along with Scott Parkins of the major capital projects for water resources. A quick update on the Blackwater CSO tunnel. We just finished the drill and blast operation, so we're all the way to the end of the tunnel now with the excavation. That wrapped up on Saturday, and now the next step with the tunnel excavation would be the shaft going vertically to along Point of Honor Trail up near Hollins Mill Road for the drop shaft for the sewage and stormwater to drop into the tunnel. So that'll be ongoing here soon. And there's a lot of activity at that end of the tunnel as well. The project is on schedule and on budget. So we are moving ahead very well with the big project with no issues, really. I mean, it's a pretty amazing project that we've gone this far with really relatively few issues. Lead service line inventory. This is the citywide project that y'all are pretty well aware of because of all the discussions we've had related to it, but we are currently trying to identify all the unknown service lines in the city, about 18,000 privately owned and about another 2,400 publicly owned lines that we do not know the material of. We are out working throughout the city to excavate small test pits to identify the material. We're also plugging that information into, it's called machine learning. It's a computer program basically that will help us to reduce the number of test pits that we have to do once we get enough data. So we'll use that to help identify the service lines, and the Virginia Department of Health has approved that process. As far as the cost of it, we're in the $10 million phase now. We recently were awarded the $15 million that we've discussed with you previously. We anticipate the total project cost over the next 10 years of being around $30 to $35 million. So we still have a ways to go. We'll see how that progresses as we identify the number of lead service lines and lines that need to be replaced. Dreaming Creek, yes. Yes.
How is this impacting citizens in Lynchburg? What is your feedback, and what kind of participation are you getting in the identifying of things? Is it what you anticipated, or?
Pretty much. We've had some citizens that expressed concerns about even the General Assembly gave us authorization to excavate a small test pit on their property. We've had some concerns, not a lot, but a handful. And we're trying to address those individually. If the customers are really opposed to it, we will move on and try to address that later and figure out another way to identify the service line material. So overall, relatively good feedback. And again, when we find a lead service line or a galvanized line that needs to be replaced, the funding will cover the cost of replacing those on the private side as well as the public side. So that'll be part of our plan. Once we identify them all, then next October we have to submit a replacement plan of how we're going to proceed through the city replacing all the service lines.
Is there a map on the GIS system that allows you to see where the pipes have been identified? Is that out there? Okay, yes. I just hadn't looked. I didn't.
Yeah, it basically you can pull up any address in the city. A lot of them are still unknown, but the ones that have been identified, there's a circle that has two halves of it. One half is color-coded, indicating the material type on the private side, and one half is color-coded, indicating the material type on the city side.
And the big picture, can you do it just by individual address, or can you see the whole? You
can see the whole.
Okay,
when
the whole thing.
When you're zoomed out and see the whole thing, you just see a bunch of little dots. It's hard to tell, but you can zoom in specifically and see individual addresses as well.
Thanks, Tim.
Yep. Dreaming Creek Interceptor. This is the project that we're working on jointly with Campbell County Utilities and Service Authority because of the additional capacity that they need and the age of the interceptor. They're actually funding about 56% of the cost of this project. So it's a $9.2 million project, and it's currently under design, and we'll be working to acquire the easements that we need over the next year. We anticipate construction start sometime in the winter of 2028 with about an 18-month construction period with completion around fall of 2029.
Question on that one, too?
Yes.
It's Ward 3.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
You probably heard me do my dreaming about Dreaming Creek bike path to follow along the same lines as this interceptor. Is there any way we can design this project in order to make it efficient and less expensive if in the future a future council decides to turn that into a bike path of some type?
We can, as we're developing the easements for it, potentially we could, usually the easements identify the specific use of the easement. We could potentially add a trail or a bike path or whatever. I don't know how, some property owners would be favorable to that, others maybe not so much. But we could certainly explore that as an option so that the easements would be at least in place to proceed forward with
So if somebody wanted to do it, it'd be not another brand new redoing the wheel.
Right. And we'll have to look a little bit at the alignment of the sewer line too to see if it makes sense to have a path over top of it. We would have to have be able to have access, so it should be accessible. So it certainly was something we could.
Blackwater, they put the accesses off to the side of the bike path.
Right. Yeah.
But the only real obstruction is Dreaming Creek Road. That one would be probably the most expensive part of a project like that. But how are y'all dealing with that for the interceptor pipe?
So the road crossings would be, I think we're designing that to be borings. You said, so we wouldn't be.
You don't tear up the road at all.
Don't tear up the road. It'd be tunneled underneath the roadway. So,
So
but
we
we
would probably need like a similar path like what goes over there at Holland's Mill, which I think they built in the 80s, if I remember right, because I used to bike that all the time. But that would probably be the way to get past that obstacle on Dreaming Creek if somebody ever wanted to do it. But
we can certainly bring up the suggestion to the design team, and Campbell County is involved in this as well. So I don't know that there'd be any additional cost, maybe a little with the easement acquisition. And I would imagine that would fall to the city since that would be a city benefit. But we can bring it up to the design team and report back next time we do a capital project update.
I'd like to know what the additional cost is and in any way we can anticipate potentials that we could save a little bit now to save a whole lot later.
Okay.
Pay a little bit now to save a whole lot later.
Sounds good. I'm going to turn it over to Scott to talk about the Abert water filtration plant updates.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. So the Abert is one of the two city water treatment plants that serves primarily the western half of the city. The plant was constructed in 1974-75 timeframe, so it's got about a 50-year life on it right now. And we did a preliminary engineering report and have come up with some areas that need to be upgraded on it. Some of the items that have been identified of concern, such as the pumps, we're looking at doing operational funding to basically remove the pumps, get them refurbished. But there are several capital concerns that we do have that are going to be scheduled in the next 5 to 8 years, it looks like 2033. With the raw water pump station at Abert and the plant itself. So currently we're looking at about 5 significant projects over the next 8 years here. The first of which is the raw water pump station influent screens off the James River, which is used when we have to pump from the James River due to peddler water levels being low, or if there's an emergency situation on the raw water line that requires us to use the James River. So we deem that as our highest priority project. The other projects include chemical feed system improvements, concrete and structural repairs and masonry repairs to the building itself, electrical and control improvements at the water plant, and then lastly, a generator and electrical improvements at the pump station. Combined, it's about $27 million estimated cost, and again, this will be split up over about 8 years of the capital program. Currently, we are in design for the raw water pump station influence screen and the chemical feed systems. Both of those are on schedule right now, and we'll be moving into construction probably in the next year or so on the first project. Already talked a little bit about the Main Street East Renewal Project, which I'm very happy to say we are in the final stages of. It looks like that we're going to be doing the striping this week on the road. We've got final pavement down. All the concrete work is done. Utility work is done. So we should be reopening the road either Friday or Monday. I'm going to be conservative and say it'll probably be Monday. But it's a big milestone. I know everybody has been waiting for this day, and we have as well. It looks like that we are going to be about $500,000 underneath the contractor's guaranteed maximum price. So we're going to be saving a little bit of money with the city here. I'm saying that the work is 99.5% complete. We do have some plantings that need to go back in the last phase of the work. That obviously this is not the time of year to do planting, so they'll be coming back in September or October to do a little bit of wrap-up work there. Richland Hills Sewer. We are well into that project as well. Currently, they are working continuously on the sewer and the water connections, water replacements and connections. We have a spend deadline in November, and looks like our anticipated construction finish is going to be in October at this point. So I think we should be able to meet the spend deadline for the ARPA funds that are on the project. So I'm calling this on time, and we are on budget with this one as well. The next phase of our sewer extension program is going to be reaching out into the Maple Hills area. So we've got currently a combined water and sewer. So we'll be doing sewer extensions, and we'll also be hitting the water replacements that are needed in this area as well with one. It's actually going to probably be a series of projects. Starting with construction in spring of 2027. We're about 50% complete on the design phase of that project right now. So this will be hitting the areas such as Maple Hills Drive, Wayne, Bryant, Westburg, over in that area of the city. One of our two ongoing water line replacement projects is over in the Daniels Hill area. We just started construction with Counts and Dobbins back in May, so we're very early on in the construction, not even 25% complete yet, but I think we've already got at least one of the roads. The water line is complete on one of the roads, and they're working on services there on Norwood Drive. So we're looking at an anticipated finish of around October 2027 for that. Everything seems to be going very well on that project right now. We do have a second phase of the Daniels Hill improvement projects we're calling the North segment. That project is in design phase right now. It is currently at about 90% design. What my anticipation is that project will follow after we complete the south section, so there won't be overlapping of the two projects. The second ongoing waterline replacement project is over on Fillmore, Buchanan, and Pierce Streets. That one started in January of 2026. Anticipated completion is in July of 2027. We've got about 25% of the work complete. I think it's probably actually a little bit more than that now. That was probably last month. One thing that we did hit over the last couple of weeks on that project, it does include 3 blocks of work on 11th Street. And our bugaboo has been the trolley track system, the old trolley track system that's underneath some of the city streets. We were not aware of it under these in the design. And when we hit it, it became an issue of going back to the designer, looking what we could do to alter any design to get it out so that we don't have to go under the trolley tracks. But unfortunately, that street is very clogged up with existing utilities. And so we are looking at a change order of about $300,000 for the removal of the trolley tracks for 3 blocks.
And the concrete base that they're on as well.
Yes, yeah. The next project is the next phase of the downtown renewal, which is going to be, we're calling it Phase 5, the 5th project, and it's going to be taking place on Court Street between 5th and 9th Street. We're currently about 50% complete on the design. We're looking at wrapping it up by the end of this year on the design side of things for a spring 2027 construction schedule. This project will be a little bit different than the other downtown projects where we saw extensive street removal and rebuilding. This project is really targeting utilities mostly. We are doing a little bit of repair on the streets and the sidewalks, but it's not going to be nearly as comprehensive as what you've seen on the other downtown phases. So it's primarily going to be funded through the water resources side of things. There'll be a little bit of Public Works general fund money on it, but mostly water resources. And I think that covers everything. So questions?
Any questions?
Just for the downtown Main Street. So the completion is this month, you said, or
Yes, we should be wrapping it up this week, actually.
that's amazing. So happy. Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Yep,
Yes.
thank you very much.
Why did y'all switch from the black poly line to the blue poly line? Water lines.
On the water lines,
Yes, I
Um,
noticed that.
okay, that's so. In years past, we've used copper for water service lines and ductile iron for the main lines. We're still requiring ductile iron, which is the black for the main lines, but we do allow PVC or HDPE for service lines. We changed a couple of years ago to allow a cheaper option from copper, and so that's what you're seeing. A lot of the plastic in the blue is the service lines going to the meters.
Okay, I was just curious.
Yeah.
All right.
So I can run it anytime I want, right?
That's right. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Any further questions?
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to information item number 3. We get Tom back. Hey, welcome back, Mr. Martin. Oddfellows Road Bridge naming request. And I'm actually going to hand this over to Kurt to run because this is a constituent request in Ward 3. So I'll hand it over to Mr. Deemer and Mr. Martin.
Just very briefly, as Councilor Timmer just mentioned, there has been a request to name the Oddfellows Road Bridge over 460 in memory of Earl Lee Brooks Sr. Mr. Brooks passed away in July 2010. I learned a lot about him this week. Interesting gentleman. I believe that one of his sons is with us this evening, but he was known as the Earl of Lynchburg. He raced in what is now the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series from 1962 to 1979. Raced in hundreds of races. Excuse me. The need some water. I apologize.
No hurry. You want me to jump in and pinch hit for you?
Sure.
I do appreciate Tom doing this. I passed out a informational material to everybody here today. Just this did come to me from Dave Falwell initially, and it's nice to see a family member here as well. There's definitely community interest in this, and I've been approached by quite a few folks in Ward 3 that I represent. Being a big NASCAR fan, I was kind of excited about this as well for that reason. But the mayor corrected me. This is not a renaming. This is a naming. There is no current name, if I'm correct about that.
So the bridge is part of the Virginia Department of Transportation system. If council desires, we would need to have council pass a resolution requesting the Commonwealth Transportation Board. Thank you so much. It's heck getting old, isn't it? All right. So the Commonwealth Council would need to pass a resolution requesting that the Commonwealth Transportation Board name the bridge in memory of Mr. Brooks. As part of that resolution, council would also need to agree to pay the cost of preparing and installing the signs. That's approximately $1,000, probably a little less than that, and those signs would be installed by VDOT. So what we're looking for from PDC is direction. If you'd like for us to prepare that resolution, we would have it on your next work session agenda.
Well, that would be real helpful. Thank you. They've also gone out and gotten petition signatures from local citizens, a significant number. You'll see that in your packet as well. If you have any questions, I look forward to meeting you after this is over with, hopefully. Hope you'll hang around.
Okay, yes.
And if y'all have any questions now, it's a great time. You got all the folks here that are interested that might be able to answer some of them. It seems like a worthy request in my estimation, so that's why I'm happy to get behind it and support you in this endeavor. Apparently his garage was pretty much right underneath that bridge at one point.
That's very interesting. That's what earlier today, Mr. Patrick forwarded you some information prepared by Ted Delaney up at the museum system.
Okay, awesome. I didn't see that yet.
So yeah, that was one of the things
Okay.
that was in that.
Ted's always on top of the history. I love it.
I believe also one of his race suits is in the museum. So
Is that right? I'm going to have to go pay a visit to
Part of
that.
the collection, I'm not sure if it's actively displayed currently or not, but I think
Okay.
it was for a while as part of a sportsman's exhibit, I believe. But that information's in the some of the research that Ted did.
Okay. Thank you. I'm done.
All right. Well, I believe you're looking for a motion for a recommendation to bring it for a work session. Or, I mean,
I
Kurt's
think-
able to agenda-wise, so I'm
Yeah,
not sure.
right. So I think we'll have this on the next work session agenda, and then we'll
That's great.
go from there. Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
and I apologize for my voice.
Not at all.
You're good.
Appreciate
Thank
you.
you so much.
As a guy with a bad voice, I'm very empathetic.
All right, moving on to general business. We have 2 items today. Both will come forward for a public hearing, so we're not going to, oh, no?
Well, good news on item 5.
Okay.
In that there's recent court filing that identified the both the administrator and the sole heir for the piece of property on Florida Avenue. So I sent an email out this morning.
Okay.
Subsequent to that email, actually got confirmation that the administrator has agreed to accept the offer for the right of way, and we're preparing the documentation now to have that signed. And
Awesome.
we shouldn't need to go down this path at all. So we've removed the item from this agenda and then also from the agenda later this evening. So
Greatly
news.
appreciate
Great news.
y'all's
Great
work
news.
on that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
so
Connected
that's
the
awesome.
dots now. That was what we were trying to do.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
Okay. All right, so agenda item number 4, and my understanding is this is coming for public hearing, and so we're not going to make a motion on it today,
Correct.
but awesome. Thank you, Dana.
Yeah, so Liberty University has approached us. They would like to take fiber optic up to their new dorm that they're renovating now. They're taking it from their property on University Boulevard, and there's a map over there that it's so small. That's why I printed you one. It's difficult to read. But the vertical road is Candler's Mountain Road. The road to the left is University Boulevard headed to the university. And this other road is actually an access to the shopping center that is owned by LU Holdings. So they're taking the fiber optic from their property. They want to bore under Candler's Mountain Road about 108 feet and then up to their property, which is the new dorm, for them to have fiber optic. It shouldn't hurt traffic in any way or impede traffic in any way. And so we're going to be coming and having a public hearing to have a license agreement with them for them to provide fiber optic to that dorm. And that's the gist of this request today.
Great.
And it will come again in August.
Any questions from Ms. Hart?
Thanks for the map.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, roll call. Yeah.
Roll call.
Dr. Wilder?
Okay, I have a great front of them.
Office. Someone called about some situation on Taylor Street, some high brush there that's on an abandoned property. It's been abandoned for years, but I'll give you the address afterwards. I did have a chance to do an email yet so quickly. But they were just saying it's been vacant for several years. Person passed away. No heirs are in the community, I think in Baltimore somewhere. And they said she's called the office several times about the property being like overgrown and the kind of thing. But I'll give you the address later. It's on Taylor, 15th and Taylor Street. And in reference to Earl Lee Brooks, I wasn't aware of him. So thank you for the information. I wasn't aware. They might want to look into maybe a historical marker as well. Ted Delaney can check into that. We don't have Miss White anymore, who was amazing in getting historical markers all over our community. But Ted can kind of tell you if it was a candidate for something of that nature, a historical marker. But I'll talk to Ted Delaney in reference to his team. They can look into that. That's all I have. Thank you.
I remember when that movie Grease Lightning came out back in the, early 80s.
Yes, sir.
I watched that movie, and him and old Richard Pryor, who played Wendell Scott,
Right.
they were partners.
And Bo Bridges played my dad.
Okay. Yes.
Wendell and my dad were very close and good friends, very good friends.
Did your dad run moonshine with Wendell?
No, my dad did not run moonshine.
before he was racing. Before.
My dad,
My dad.
You don't have to answer these questions, just so you know. You might incriminate you.
we having fun.
He was dead set against moonshine, so I can't claim that one. But yes, they were very close, and yes, that movie was actually written in our living room of our home.
Oh, okay.
The movie company came in with big reel-to-reel recorders, and Wendell and my dad sat on their sofa and told stories of things that happened to them. Of course, when he got to Hollywood or wherever, they kind of changed some things around.
Hollywood.
They had to, probably.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's good. It's good to meet you.
thank you. It's good to meet you all, and thank you for supporting us. I just really love it. Just tickles me to death.
That's great.
We've lived, our whole life was right there where the bridge was.
Mhm.
The shop was there, the house was there, our whole family, grandmothers, grandfather, and everything lived there. And the whole deal. And the race shop, he run the races out of there, and he supported Lynchburg very big on his car, on his race car. On the back of it, I don't know if you have any pictures or whatever, but it was see the historical James River in Lynchburg, Virginia, everything on the car, and it was he would present the Chamber of Commerce gave him literature, and he would hand out that literature in different places down through we raced everywhere from Daytona to Oxford, Maine, to Riverside, California. It was just everywhere. So, and he would spread that. He really he was very proud of his city.
Okay.
When he was elected into the Sports Hall of Fame in Lynchburg, that was so meaningful to him, and he just broke down. That was the greatest news he had ever gotten, I believe.
Thank you, sir.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, do you have any? Thank you.
No.
Thank you.
Do you have any further items? Okay. Mr. Deemer.
I just have started getting calls on streetlights again. That's the danger of becoming the light guy, and that's okay. I'm not complaining. But has there been any efficiencies or just the ability to get those into a pipeline and then track when they're done? Has anything happened? Or is it still using the same system pretty much?
Yeah, and that's an APCO system. And at this point, I don't think they have any new technology beyond what they had last time we were here. I know we are pushing them very hard on both reporting, being able to provide us with reports of what's out and what's not and what's been reported, and then getting everything done quickly that we report to them. So.
Okay. I don't know if this is possible, but maybe what we do is we more prominently link to the APCO system on our side of things. That if there's any way to bump it up in visibility a little bit, give it a logo, or AI will make it all in 10 seconds for you. You know, something about this is the fastest, bestest way to do it. And,
All right.
you know, I think the closure thing is still the part I would love to get solved, that we could see when the job was done, without the citizen going back out and calling back up their
Right.
city councilman. And the city councilman says, well, that's good and everything. Okay. But it's the ones that seemed to languish for several months that raised it to the attention that it was. And now, since we don't have anything new, maybe we can just make it a little more prominent on the city side of things, promote it a little bit. That would be really helpful. That's it
All
for
right.
me.
I've got one item, and I'll bring it up in roll call with the work session as well, just because that's when the constituent will probably watch. But if Ted Delaney would be up for doing maybe a presentation on the cemetery again and any development that has happened there, but also there are some historical sites in Lynchburg that are listed with the state and also nationally, but aren't necessarily recognized on the city website. And so my understanding from Kent is that when it comes to the city recognizing a site, there's usually some kind of land use tie to that. And so I'd just like to understand that in a fuller dialogue as far as, we've got some great history in our city. How can we highlight that more? What does council need to do in order to support that and promote that? So that ties into your discussion with the marker and our discussion today with the bridge. If he could come and we could have that dialogue, I'd love to have that.
Okay.
Awesome. Okay. Well, we've got 13 minutes.
Yes.
So we've got a moment here. Our next meeting, I'm sorry, I should have pulled it up. When's our next meeting?
September 8th, I believe.
Okay. We're going to go with it.
Yes.
Our next meeting will be September 8th.
First meeting in September. Put it
At
that way.
3 p.m. here in the training room. Meeting adjourned.
Praise the Lord, everyone. Welcome to our July 14th City Council work session. The city manager will go over the agenda for us.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of City Council. Good afternoon. This afternoon, we have an opportunity during our business item briefing, which we kind of present something that will come before you for a vote to give you kind of topics and or information about it to help inform your decision there. A couple work session items, one by Mr. Feraldi, I'm sure is on his way, roll call, then closed session. And Mayor, I asked before, turn it back to you for a pop-up. May
may have been made aware or seen in the news that the city was in receipt of resources to help with 501, 221. And what I'd ask is to have our Greg, our deputy city manager, and together with city staff kind of explain just all who was involved in the lift that was necessary to receive that federal award. So if I may, I'm going to turn it to Greg, and he'll ask city staff to help brief you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Benda. Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, very excited today to talk to you a little bit about the build grant that the city received and to recognize a number of folks. But first and foremost, Dee Dee Connor, if you would kind of step up to the table here and have a seat. Really want to recognize Dee Dee Connor, who's our project manager for the 501-221 project. Build grant, you will all have seen, it's been all over the place. City received $24.5 million to help with this project. $24.5 million is the single largest transportation grant that the city has ever received. And this is not like a lot of grant programs that municipalities and localities are involved in, where if you submit an application, you are likely to receive funding. This is hyper competitive. Last year, there were no build winners in Virginia. This year, there were 3, and I believe we are the only actual physical transportation project or a road transportation project that was awarded funding. These are among the most competitive grants that a municipality can receive. And oftentimes you'll hear that a lot of blood, sweat, and tears went into the work of preparing the grant application. I will tell you, there was no blood, but I do have confirmation that there was sweat and indeed tears at one time or another. And what I'd like to do is turn it over to Dee Dee Connor, our project manager, who knows all the right people to thank, because there have been many, many who played a large role in this. But again, hyper-competitive grant, largest transportation grant that the city has ever received. And it's going to go to help fund probably the most important transportation project we can do here in the city. So Dee Dee, if you would tell us just a little bit about the grant and then thank all the people that need to be thanked.
Absolutely. So this was our third time of trying for this grant, and third time's a charm. And it was also our last time we could apply for it. So we hit it out of the park. So that was great. Each year, obviously, we thought we had a great application. Sometimes it boils down to timing and who's reviewing these applications. But last year, we made it to the second round. So you have to make it 2 different rounds. So last year, we made it to the second round and received a lot of great feedback, a lot of compliments, and places we can improve. So we did that, strengthened our application, and actually got our grant this year. So we were very excited for that. And this year there were 1,200 applications for grants, and there were, I think they were requesting $4.5 billion was requested, and there was $1.5 billion available. So that's the nature of that game, if you will. Like I said, last year, Virginia did not receive any at all, which was a little unusual. So we were very happy to be part of the 3 or 4 that got something this year in Virginia. Again, it was a big lift. A lot of people to thank. Margette, first and foremost, in my mind, she provided me with so much information, so much data, so much statistics on the economics of the region and what everybody was doing and how it affected them, and it really helped us hone in, because one of the merit criteria was economic development and economic impact. So that information was very helpful. She is also the queen of support letters. She sends out one email and I get 18 letters of support from businesses and universities, and phenomenal. And then Metchie helped get us a letter from Senator Kane. So that was also very helpful. We had Delegate Warner, Senator Peake. So we had lots of great letters of support, and that's been through the years. So we've had a lot of support from community businesses and leaders as well. So that was great. Josh Moore with the GLTC. Again, another fantastic resource for us. just helping us weed through his program, how we can incorporate the different kinds of transit stops that he was planning for the future out in that area. So he was very helpful. Again, lots of data, lots of ridership information, that kind of thing. So that all plays into these applications. It was really, we had the verbiage, I think, really well the first go around, but it was really supporting all of that we knew to be true with data. And that's where all these folks come in, just bringing that data together and trying to paint a picture for a reviewer who's reviewing this, who's not reviewing others. Not one person doesn't review all of them. So you have to really impress the person that's reviewing yours. So we really wanted to paint a clear and a favorable picture of our project. Again, in finance, Donna she was my, her and Michelle White were my letters of financial support and commitment. I had to have those. Matt Chavez ran any number that I needed because there was, again, a lot of what ifs in these financial scenarios. Allison Johnson helped us in GIS, again, mine some of that data. And then my group in Public Works, Gaynell, Lee Newland, Leslie Bradford, Tim Yarn, Benjamin, again, data from previous projects and costs and values and things like that. So I'm just very grateful for a huge team of people that really just bent over backwards to help pull this together in a short amount of time. We generally get the NOFO in November, and then you have till the end of February to send in this application that ends up being about that much data. So just grateful for all the help from other city staff. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Before
you go, I just want to convey our thanks from the entire council to you and the staff, especially to the folks we know, Margette and Josh and Allison over GIS. I know those folks pretty well, and I know they are great members of your team, but just the entire team, everybody that participated, thank you to them from us. We know this is a big deal, the largest transportation grant in Lynchburg history. Is that what I heard? Wow, thank you. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mayor, back to you.
Okay. Business briefing, Ms. Alicia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So each July, City Council takes into consideration their calendar year for the following calendar year. And so this is just to set forth your meeting dates. There is nothing that has changed. Yes, nothing has changed from this past year. So I'll just go through that really quickly. So we are the second and fourth Tuesday of the month, except for July, August, and December. July and December, we meet the second Tuesday, not the fourth. And August, of course, we meet the fourth Tuesday, not the second. The times of those are 4 o'clock for the work session and 7 o'clock our regular city council meeting. And location, second floor training room for the 4 o'clock. And then the 7 o'clock is down in council chamber. This is set forth by both state code and your rules of procedure. What is different this year, and I think we probably did follow it last year too, so you all have some pending changes to your rules of procedure. So your rules state that you'll put forth your calendar year by affirming your rules of procedure. Here we just have a resolution putting forth the calendar year, not touching the rules of procedure until you all can finish the edits that you'd like to make for those. This will be coming to a vote tonight during general business.
Thank you.
Yep.
Item number 2, Downtown Safety Main Street Citizen Concern Status Update. Mr. Friedman.
Yes, sir. This status update is just to kind of let you know where city staff is on a citizen concern that city council directed us to look into. Right now, we are just kind of meeting internally and talking about various safety issues and some possible solutions to address not only the citizens' concern, but also other matters that are pending downtown that are related to this.
Mm-hmm.
So more to come as directed by council in August.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Wilder.
Thank you. As far as concerning questions, is the Downtown Association kind of working with the group, or who's
No.
the police department kind of thing?
We haven't looped in Downtown Association. It's because it's only related to safety issues that are down there. So all the appropriate parties are looped into that discussion.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else? Item number 3, notable local government highlights of 2026 legislative update.
Okay.
Mr. Freedom.
All right. Yes, sir.
Mr. Freeman.
Yeah. So as requested by Councilman Mischins at the last work session we had, there was a request to have an overview or review of kind of some of the legislative highlights from the legislative update I had provided to city staff. So every year since I've been in office, as well as my predecessor, we try to do a legislative update to city staff just to make sure that they are aware of the various changes or additions in the General Assembly. I tried to include things in this presentation that were notable from an administrative perspective versus necessarily from other perspectives like criminal law or constitutional changes or things along those lines, things that are really kind of in the nitty-gritty of local government administration. So without further ado, here we go. All right. So overall, there were quite a few bills that were approved and went through the General Assembly this year. So, and that is why likely Councilman Mischins had noted how large the legislative update was that I had done this year. It's about 55 pages, about 200 bills that I had noted in that update to city staff. So quite a few, but this is a summation from the other day of what the actual numbers are that went through the General Assembly. All right, so for City Council's purposes, I did want you all to be aware of Towing Advisory Board changes. So the makeup of the Towing Advisory Board has changed under this bill, HB 908. It's to ensure that there are equal numbers of representatives for law enforcement agencies, representatives from licensed towing and recovery operators, and members of the public. There's also some clarifying language in the new new act that speaks to vacancies and members of the public not affecting the board from meeting or acting. So that I think is helpful for ensuring a quorum. So that's something that our wonderful clerk of council will want to be aware of, especially our finance folks when we address our towing contract again in 5 or 6 years. All right, this is something that came through the General Assembly that was related to having a youth non-voting member on a governing body. So basically what this does is give governing bodies the ability to add to their composition a youth member to be able, presumably, not to vote, but to give input, to be able to put them on committees, to get different perspectives. There is some limitations. You have to have a term that's prescribed for them, likely done by ordinance, as well as an age restriction of 15 to 17 years old, and they have to live in the locality. All right, so for you all, for filing of statements of economic interest, you're going to want to be aware of this. Moving forward, the filings have to be kept by the COYA Advisory Council. They're public records for 5 years, as we know. The clerk will help coordinate that filing, but all of them now are electronic filings. So that is something that's done likely for efficiency purposes, but now they'll all be done electronically. Okay, so SB 699, this is an important one. It's important from the perspective, and we do part of this already, but this bill, in my interpretation of it, basically says that if you take final action on something, it has to be on a posted agenda. And for exceptions that are related to that, there is an exception for things that are taken up with closed meetings and other items that aren't necessarily action but direction for city staff. But what council needs to be careful of now with this bill is with its motions to substitute. So I think motions to amend are probably okay, especially if they don't change the full nature of what has been proposed or posted on the agenda. But if council gets into situations where it's substituting something that is completely out there, completely opposite, or adding things that the public may have wanted to comment on or be able to see, this may pose issues for city council because of these new final action rules. Sure, yeah.
So what I'm hearing is if something's not on the agenda and it was to be an action that could be considered final, very broadly speaking, it could not be adopted at that moment.
Right. So the way I understand it as this works is these guidelines, if they're violated, it has the potential to be voided or to argue that it's already void from the get-go.
So are there any provisions that you're aware of where it's of a emergency situation?
Yes,
I mean,
that is an exception. So the exception is when it's something that needs to be addressed immediately, an emergency or related to a closed session item. So those are exceptions to that particular rule, votes to direct staff to do things. Deferring matters would not be an issue. It's really to avoid, from what I took from this, surprise final actions.
Okay. We may want to reconsider. I know we've been in and out of talking about the rules and how we operate, but it may be reconsidering also the calendar that we're slated to vote on. I understand that. Here's why I'm speaking so slowly. I'm sorry for the folks at home and folks here. What I'm trying to say is, like, if we're now going to have that requirement, there needs to be, I think, dedicated. I'm looking to you guys about your experience too. Dedicated work session days and dedicated public general business days, because otherwise, I mean, there are times where right now we say, hey, we're reviewing it as a bib, and then we're adopting it later tonight, and then that might change. So, if the purpose of the legislature was to say that things need to be buttoned up before you vote on it, then we might need to think about, is the second meeting of the month the action day where it's, general business from 7 to whatever, and then the first, I don't know. I'm just saying that's a yellow flag I've picked up from a process standpoint.
It's a great idea. And it could be that there is a way we look, once we come back to our rules of procedure, to incorporate, this new requirement regarding final action into it. I think that's a great idea.
It's a pain in the butt.
It is.
I appreciate it. It's a pain in the butt. I'd be curious what anybody else would say, but that was something I picked up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Friedman, and thanks for your comments too, Councilmember Feroldi. I think this one's pretty interesting. Can you? Was there a slide before this one?
There were. I think there were two.
About this?
Not about this.
So this is the only slide about this?
Yes.
Okay. So I guess the question that I've got is, you said that it could be voided, but what's the enforcement mechanism for FOIA? That's the question that I have.
So it would probably be a petition for declaratory judgment. That's how something like this would come up. So if someone was challenging an action, say it was some type of action where there was an allegation that we didn't adhere to the FOIA rules as far as votes, certainly they could bring it by a writ for a mandamus, but that would really be directing the public body to comply with the rule, to proceed with voiding or something else to that effect. It would have to be done by declaratory judgment.
But it also opens up the avenue for somebody to do a petition for a writ for mandamus as well. If an action was to be taken that was not published on the agenda. Is that? I think I articulated that right.
It's all very new, Councilman Mischin. So that's the thing. I don't think this has been put to the test yet. But hypothetically, yes, you're correct. So it could proceed through a writ, because that's typically the remedy FOIA seeks, is under those petitions for writs of mandamus.
And it's trying to see here. I just found it. I just pulled it up. So final action, it says final action does not include referral to a committee or advisory body, referral to a future meeting for action, direction to staff to provide further information, or issuance of a commending or memorial proclamation. So we can continue to proclaim things without.
That's right.
That's good. So we can still do proclamations on a whim. But
If I may interject,
this is.
What about a closed session appointment, right? Like,
you can do that. So it's items that are related to closed meetings are permitted. So as long as the action is reasonably related to it, you're probably fine.
So
that's going to be funky.
So there was something in here I saw about the emergency thing, which was, I think, but there was, I don't know where it went, but I saw something in here as I was browsing through this where it described just that. Here it is. So no final action may be taken on items added to the agenda after the meeting commences unless they are time sensitive or are the subject of a closed meeting properly identified in a motion in accordance with section 223711. And that's 37. That's the FOIA closed session.
That's correct.
Language, correct?
That's right.
So,
and this is now law?
Now law.
Oh boy, they didn't even give us time.
Now law. Okay. All right. Can I keep going?
yes. No, I think that's a big one then.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman, for this one. This one is not settled. Chris and I have worked in the General Assembly, and this one's going to be dealt with in courts, and there'll be precedents, and it'll probably switch around or change a little bit. But ultimately, the biggest loophole I see in this is the final action, because as anybody has watched the General Assembly, even determining when they have taken final action sometimes, if you watch the THC marijuana thing this year, it's final is never quite final, and sometimes final is not even close to final. So we'll see how it all settles out. I predict this one will migrate a little bit over time as people look at it, but it's interesting for sure.
Okay. All right. Keep going. There we go. All right. So this was first on the list of the General Assembly meeting. It's under HB1 and SB1. These are minimum wage increases, and I included these in here because obviously over time it may have effects on the city's coffers as far as what minimum wage is. It has to be paid unless the federal minimum wage is higher. But as you can see, they've increased it. It's set to increase again in 2027, again in 2028, and thereafter. I believe the Commissioner of Labor and Employment with the state is going to be making a decision about minimum wage in 2029. Whoops. I'm sorry, I jumped all the way ahead like that. Okay. This, I think, is helpful for the city, obviously, as it relates to law enforcement agencies and other localities being able to work together as far as co-response team for behavioral health issues. Multiple jurisdictions can work together on this. You can now have reciprocal agreements, mutual aid agreements, and other things specific to the consolidation of law enforcement agencies or divisions under this new bill. That's HB 248, SB 317. All right. I included this HB 802 really after a follow-up from Community Development's presentation as it relates to derelict property. So this is another tool in the toolbox, so to speak, to be able to address blighted, derelict, and vacant buildings. So this allows for a registration process. It allows for being able to keep track of vacant buildings that have been vacant for 3 years or more, as well as having to register them with the locality. The goal obviously being to have an ordinance that ensures that folks are aware that the property they own is vacant, trying to keep up with it to the degree they can, and also having to work through the other issues that may relate to the vacant building, such as the derelict ordinance, unsafe structure ordinance, whatever else we may have with it. Okay, these are some new real property tax exemptions that came through with the General Assembly. It's HB 854. What is interesting about this is it has essentially taken away the requirement that rental income, where it may be a source of revenue for a charitable or benevolent association, is taxed on that. So that is no longer a requirement under this statute. So they've kind of given a break to those nonprofit entities not to be taxed for that portion of real estate that's let and a source of revenue for them. Also here, it kind of speaks through, excuse me. Yes, so this is for provision of affordable housing, also to give the ability, if a local government so chooses, to be able to exempt them from taxation. It's an additional tool in the toolbox for localities to be able to encourage affordable housing with nonprofits if they're owned by it or have some type of ownership interest in it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That says for profit on the bottom bullet. You just said not.
Yeah, for profit.
So for profit ownership interest used for charitable benevolent purposes. So
nonprofit organization holds it. They may have a for-profit ownership interest, and if it's used for charitable or benevolent purposes to provide affordable housing, it's my understanding it would be exempt if the local governing body exempts it.
okay. I think I'm reading something wrong here. All right, I got it. I understand. So, but we would have to.
You would have to exempt it from taxation to be able to do this.
But it's up to us to do it.
That's correct. It's not automatic.
Okay.
And I guess I should say that when they say apart from any for-profit ownership interest, it's divesting it away from it. So the idea is to basically give the benefit of the nonprofit organization using it for affordable housing, the ability to be tax exempt, but not consider the for-profit ownership component.
I think I'm now understanding what this is. So if you've got a nonprofit that has nothing to do with affordable housing, then they buy rental property for the purpose of making it affordable housing. Normally, a nonprofit that would buy rental property would be taxed on that property because it would not be part of their, like, let's just say, part of their purpose. Like, I don't know, the University of Lynchburg, if they bought an apartment building that was just rented to the general public that has nothing to do with their education, nonprofit, the charitable purpose that they've got the 501c3.
Yes.
So then if they were to buy an apartment building and rent that as an investment, but then try to classify it as affordable housing, we could then.
You could probably exclude that
from taxation.
Being tax exemption. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Now I understand all the handshakes there.
So there's two: by classification, which is purely done under code, and then by designation, which is a process that comes before the body. But there are certain variables that have to be met, and you decide whether or not that's meets a purpose that you don't otherwise have currently in our city.
Okay.
And I will say this: I didn't put a whole lot in this presentation as far as the affordable housing, but the General Assembly did bring through a lot of various bills and laws that went into law that spoke to affordable housing. So that was in my update to city staff, but for our purposes, I tried to narrow it to what council would be wanting to speak to.
Would they have to apply to us for that? Is that how that would work?
Yes.
Process under code that has different variables that have to take off that you guys would then hear and decide.
All right. Here we go. Okay, so this This SB 181, it speaks to real property tax exemption as it relates to essentially repurposing and rehabbing residential structures. So another way for localities to encourage the fixing of derelict, vacant, unsafe structures. So this is a tool in the toolbox to be able to allow for tax incentives, reductions in permits, changing in taxation. So this I do think is helpful for individuals who are rehabbing those derelict properties. Okay. All right. So this one is not going to be a popular one in the sense of zoning. And it's probably we're probably going to have to do some revamping to our zoning ordinance. So essentially what this bill did is it essentially equates to, with certain exceptions, manufactured homes to stick-built homes, okay? So we have to look at our zoning ordinance to be able to examine that these manufactured homes are going to be treated to the extent that, they're going to be treated the same as single-family, stick-built, site-built dwellings, with a few exceptions that are listed in that statute. So I'm certain staff is preparing, for dealing with this as it may come up. But like I said, we're going to have to look at our zoning ordinance, given this new legislation.
Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Any idea what those exceptions are?
Not offhand.
Not offhand. Is it? This is pretty much going to allow. I guess it depends on what the definition of manufactured home is.
That's right.
And it's so it could be modular homes. It could be there's pre-built homes in Connex containers. So somebody could have a single family lot, and if that's not excluded in the definition, somebody could.
That's right, and that's what we'll.
Bunch of shipping container house in that subdivision, which would be interesting. Yeah, I would be very interested in seeing what the definitions are that apply to that, because it's not going to be something that's going to be popular in some areas, I would imagine.
What I could do if
people are going to be unhappy about that.
If council,
there's no room.
If council's agreeable, what I can do is I can work with community development to maybe see what our zoning ordinances say, compare it to this new law, see how it'll apply as it relates to that, and we'll go from there. I might need a little time for that, but I can do that.
They'd be like those teeny homes, or whatever you call them. Is it something different? Those tiny homes.
So that's what Councilmember Missions mentions. Is it depends on the nature of it. So I know there is a definition as it relates to what constitutes a manufactured house. I do think I'd have to look again, but they are out there. Now it could be that it's speaking to what's commonly known as a double wide. And that may be what it is necessarily speaking to, but they're often zoned for different zones as it relates to stick built homes and other things. But we'll get you some more information on this one.
Pulled it up just now.
Typically, there's two different types of manufactured homes. There's homes that you would call HUD homes, and they're called HUD homes because they're built to a building code that's specified by the Department of Housing and Urban Development, and they actually come with a title. Those are manufactured homes. When they are placed on a permanent foundation, typically you turn that title in, it becomes real property. And that's where they have the opportunity to be treated as regular stick-built homes. Then there are modular homes. Modular homes are just homes that are manufactured in a factory. They're built to, state building code, and they're installed on site. And I think for the most part, modular homes, you'd have a hard time, depending on the home, telling that it was manufactured in a factory or not. But I think there is a real distinction between those homes that are built to the HUD standard building code versus the state building code.
Then Dr. Wilder, your point about tiny homes, that's further by the building code, and that's really size requirements based on the livable area. So it would fall in based on those different criteria. Yes, sir.
And I should clarify, when I spoke to exceptions, it's that criteria that I'm speaking to, that as long as it meets the criteria that's spelled out in that statute, that's where the zoning requirement kicks in.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
you got it right here. It says that you have the section about zoning ordinances under the provisions of agriculture and all that. You have that up on the board, but it says localities adopting and enforcing zoning ordinance under this provision of this article shall provide that in all zoning districts, other than zoning districts listed in subsection A, which is what you had listed, where site-built housing is allowed, the placement of manufactured homes shall be permitted for manufactured homes that are converted to real property in accordance with section 46.2-653.1. So I think that's probably where that definition is. Constructed so that the home's data plate and placed on individual lots. So I think it's just going to be whether or not they can be converted to real property is what it looks like. So it's not necessarily like a mobile home park, but it could be a double wide on a single family lot potentially.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's my understanding that we already allow this if there's a foundation in place. So does this really impact us so much? I mean, with current, oh, they struck out
They struck out on a permanent foundation.
On a permanent foundation. Got it. Okay. So there is a differentiation that. Got it. Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Any other questions? All right. Keep going. Okay, so this is another zoning change that speaks to off-street parking and zoning requirements. So what this speaks to, and it might be easier if I simply read it, because it's a confusing one. Minimum off-street parking is not to be required by a locality as a conditioning of zoning approval for residential, multifamily, or mixed-use developments located within a designated area exceeding one half of one parking space per dwelling unit for multifamily or mixed-use residential development, or 2, one parking space per dwelling unit for one family and two family dwellings and townhomes. And then it speaks here with this population requirement. Localities with a population of over 20,000 are required to establish by ordinance in an admin review process for requesting reduction in minimum off-street parking of not less than 20% for such parcels not located within a designated area, and that is what is defined, above and in the statute. So that Ken, I might defer to you and how that might affect our parking requirements and our ordinance.
It's been a while since I've worn my zoning hat, but I'll just say, in general, we require about one space per dwelling unit. So there'll be places that we have to tweak this and places that we don't. We do have options also administratively to reduce parking, and we'll just have to see how that coincides. But we have the blueprint in place on this, and we'll probably just have to adjust as we do with your other aspects of zoning.
Okay. All right. Okay, so this is something I think that is going to have a financial impact the city is going to need to be thinking through. This is as it relates to changing wage rates under public works contracts. So there is some new requirements as far as disclosures, as far as additional information that needs to be provided by these contractors and subcontractors to the locality. I do think there is a registration requirement with some of this, and this kind of works in tandem with another bill for public works contracts that was also gone through the General Assembly. So that is something we need to work through with the finance department to be able to see how to meet these new requirements and adhere to those and deal with the wage rate. Let's see. And here's the additional one I had mentioned as it relates to the additional requirements. They have the disclosure requirements that they have and so forth. So again, this is something we have to work through. So good news is that, from what I understand, this one isn't effective till July 1, 2027. So we have a little bit of time. Okay, so I'm going to use a bad word. It starts with a T. It's obviously taxation. I did want to make you all aware of this, that came through the budget bill. So there's a lot of stuff that came through the budget bill, a lot. I can't emphasize enough a lot, but there was a lot that came through it. What I thought might be relevant for council to be aware of is that there's the ability for Virginia counties and cities to hold a referendum, and if it passes referendum, to be able to impose an additional local sales and use tax, not exceeding 1% each, for the sole purpose of creating revenue to fund capital projects for the construction or renovation of schools. So, for our folks at home, if you don't know what a referendum is, it's essentially a council voted upon and court ordered election that is essentially deciding whether or not by the voters to do something. So if that referendum passes, then the ordinance can be proceeded with to impose the tax. And that's kind of what that is. That was in the budget, amending those code sections up there. All right, this was another one that was in there. So a lot of stuff had been passed as it relates to marijuana. I tried to reduce this to one slide, and it was very, very difficult to do that because there was so much that was there. There is going to be a state tax that's imposed of 6%, 8% after July 1, 2029. There are exemptions as it relates to that taxation and the sale of marijuana products. Something that is interesting to note about this component of the budget bill is the way I interpreted this is this was a mandatory tax by locality. So it seems under this law that localities are required to pass an ordinance to assess a local tax on the sale of marijuana and marijuana products when the sales go into effect. Now, what I did note in trying to dig through all those different things, and council needs to be thinking about this before this goes into effect, is we can still zone and we still have powers as it relates to land use, but they can't arise to a level of prohibiting the sale of marijuana. So we can regulate times, likely various locations and other things, public usage to prohibit it being used in public. But we can't do blanket prohibitions under the budget law. So this will be effective July 1, 2027.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd be interested in looking at some options on what we could do that and quite frankly to really even crack down to make sure that they don't look like some of these vape shops look with all the neon lights and stuff that's attractive to kids. And I like the idea about the hours. I think that's fantastic. I'm also in favor of that 3.5% doing that max as soon as it goes into effect. I think that, if we're gonna be stuck with it, we might as well extract the most tax revenue we can out of it.
Okay. All right, and that essentially is it. Like I said, I didn't want to take up too much of City Council's time with this, but I tried to find some real highlights from that big update that I thought you guys would be interested in. So that's it.
Don't smoke pot. Number 4, public transit study update. Mr. Patrick.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council. A brief update for you today as we head into council's summer recess. As you'll recall, there was $500,000 set aside in council's approved fiscal year 2027 budget to fund a multimodal or transit redesign study for public transit in the city. We are beginning the process of bringing on board a consultant partner who's going to help guide this process. One of the things that we are asking we'll ultimately ask the consultant to work through is putting together a steering committee that consists of members of City Council, members of the GLTC Board of Directors to help guide that process. We won't know exactly what that looks like until we bring the consultant on board. We want them to give us best practices there. We're going to move as quickly as possible. It's likely that we won't ask the mayor to make these appointments until after we return in late August. But just in case we're able to move quicker than that, wanted to make council aware that that's the process we are headed down, and we'll have more information to you soon. So that's all I have. A very quick update, Mayor. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Councilmember Ferrari, snow removal ordinance.
Thank you, Mayor. Members of council, I would point you to the memo you received earlier today from staff. Of course, I have the wrong one in front of me, so bear with me. But in short, this came to you via my request from some time ago, where I think the last snow ice storm that we had exposed, I think, a weakness that needs to be addressed. In concept, the memo outlines what I'm interested in us talking about. I don't have a recommended policy one way or the other, but I think it's worth considering and discussing. So as we know, the schools were shut down for a number of days due to the weather. Some of us were questioning roads were clear. Why don't they have snow routes? Plethora of I mean this in a friendly manner, reasons were given as to why they were still closed. And we can discuss the merits of those one way or the other. However, what I witnessed in driving around the city were sidewalks that weren't even attempted to be plowed or opened. And how can we expect to open up those schools, as an example, when Perrymont is having those sidewalks are completely closed because residents aren't doing what they're supposed to do, which is you clear your sidewalk. That's part of your responsibility. And so I see this as primarily an emphasis on if the schools won't move forward with putting snow routes in, which I think makes sense, we should be exploring what can we do to make sure that if something like this happens again, we have something on the books to make sure that those sidewalks are available. I'll own it. My HOA is responsible for my area, and they took their time to get to us. So we had to go out and take care of it, and so I'm not alone in this. Everyone needs to be pulling their part. But when we have such a storm like we had, where the city in large part is shut down for a number of days, that's a rarity. I think there are examples around the Commonwealth of what we can do. So the memo outlines what we currently have. Apparently, there's a $5 fine, which might as well not exist because it'd cost far more to enforce it than what the fine would be for not doing this. So some of the other cities have everything from a $50 fine to we'll charge you to clear it and then add 20% on top of that. I'm open to the conversation. The heart behind this is really to say if we're going to have something on the books, we need to have something that affords kids the ability to walk to school. And if we're going to have sidewalks that need to be plowed, we need to have something that backs that up. And so I would point us to some of the others, Roanoke, Danville, Stanton. They have some examples for us to consider. I'm not necessarily proposing we take it to a general business item just yet, but I would hope at an upcoming work session we can start considering options, what it would look like, what this council may be comfortable with. I don't want to go through another storm and an excuse is made, well, the kids can't get to school. Oh, no. Yeah. And yet I'm seeing folks driving around their areas, having a great time when the sidewalk is clearly not taken care of. So that's the heart behind it. I'm not trying to be punitive. I'm trying to make sure kids have every opportunity to get to where they need to be.
Okay.
So at an upcoming meeting, I would welcome that. Welcome feedback now, but if there's other things we need to get to, that's the thought process, and I would love to engage with that with you all a little bit now and or in the near future.
Ms. Timmer?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I think this would end up being a question for you, Ms. Hart, at some point or in the larger discussion. My inclination with this, Mr. Feraldi, is more so than a fine, and I don't know if this is feasible, but if Public Works is out and the sidewalk's not taken care of, then they already have the tools to clear that, and then we bill. Simply because just putting a fine doesn't mean that the sidewalk gets plowed, and a lot of people aren't able to do it for various reasons. And so creating that as just part of the kind of streamlined process, I think would be more productive towards the end than someone going around and fining, but not necessarily having it cleared.
Yeah, and I guess
And I don't know if that.
I'm open to the conversation. I'm open to any ideas, but please.
Yeah, I think it's all about staffing. And when that last storm, we were all on street snow removal, other than the custodians that were trying to open our buildings so that we could get back to work as well. So other than those folks, everybody was on streets snow removal of one kind. I don't know that we could meet an ordinance like this and take. I mean, it's going to reduce staff off streets, and I don't think that would have helped us either in this particular case. We needed all hands on deck for the street snow removal. And I don't know that we actually have outlying sidewalks that we don't even get to while we're on street snow removal. An example might be the sidewalk around Miller Park that doesn't really, it's not around a city building. It's not, normally people don't go to the parks when the weather's that bad. We wait till after the snow has ceased, and then the guys go out and clean those sidewalks. So I think it's a matter of staffing and how we can figure that out. Or do we hire a contractor and bill it? Just not sure how that would work. We need to do a lot of thought and research into it.
And insofar as we need the conversation, because I think what we went through last year, and every couple of years there's a bigger storm that comes through. This one had some nuance with the ice, but we need sidewalks clear. And I'm open to anything at this point.
And part of the reason I bring that up as a question is because I had a number of neighbors, and myself included, where the ice packed down in the driveway. And I mean, we took a sledgehammer to it. So there are just a number of things that you had to break it up in order to remove it. And I know of a number of constituents and neighbors where that would be a very difficult feat. And so if it wasn't removed within the early period, then it iced, and you couldn't remove it in the latter period. So just figuring out how this could pragmatically be effective for a number of citizens rather than them getting a fine but not being able to clear the sidewalk. So I'm with you on finding a way to clear the sidewalks and what that needs to look like, but also engaging that we get to the objective of the sidewalk being cleared rather than just using man hours to create a fine when it's not actually creating a scenario where the sidewalk's being clear.
Mayor, if I may, just very briefly, I agree. I think there's some logic here. I mean, if you've cleared your driveway's clear, but you left the sidewalks, and then that freezes overnight. That's what I'm trying to engage. Like, hey, you could have cleared it, you chose not to. Like that's kind of where I'm coming from.
And that's fair, and that's a part of. I'm thinking from a Ward 1 elderly neighbor perspective, and also me having to enlist help because I can't do it during my son's nap time perspective. So that's the perspective that I'm approaching it from, as far as how do we make this feasible for people. So that's what I'm bringing to the conversation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I think I agree that the sidewalks need to be cleared. I do think that it would be a tremendous burden on Public Works to have to do that where it wasn't done. I just don't think that that's even feasible. And, you know, I don't know what we could do to incentivize it, but I have real concerns about creating essentially a punishment for it not being done, because we also don't want to push elderly folks who are all over the city to go out there in the snow and ice, and then, you know, they're falling and breaking hips because they don't want to get a $200 fine because their sidewalks aren't cleared when they probably never should have been out there in the first place doing it. I just think that's the concern that I have. And, you know, I don't know, how do we incentivize it? I don't know how we incentivize it, but I also don't want to penalize people, because I think you're going to create a situation where people that really have no business being out there doing that are going to end up doing that, and then we're essentially
The ambulances can't
responsible
drive.
for hopefully somebody saw them,
Yeah.
right? Because if they do it in the evening, it's dark outside, then they're going to lay out there and die from hypothermia. But it's I got a different perspective because of the things that I've seen, and I just think that penalizing people for not shoveling their sidewalks in this city is going to create some situations that we aren't going to be able to reverse.
Mayor, I have a question, not for Mr. Missions, just in general. So remind us if you know it off the top of your head. If you don't, forgive me. What's our policy for if you are not cutting your grass? I think it's too tall. Remind us of that, because I see this as similar.
Yeah.
We send you a warning letter, typically 10 days notice. Then we bring in if you proceed and still not continue, we bring in a contractor to cut it, and we bill you for it.
And
bill you for it. Yes, sir.
Maybe at our future meeting, if you can give us an idea of like, hey, on average, that this is what this looks. I mean, I know lots and sizes are all shapes and size. I get that, but is that $50? Is that a height? Like what is that?
It's to your point. It varies by. We'll try to get you an average, but it varies by the shape of the lot, the difficulty, and whatever the contract rate is. So, yes, sir.
I believe that we came up with some kind of package for the youth in the neighborhoods. You're a young fella. The city gonna give you $25 if you go out and help your neighbor clear their sidewalks.
I love that idea.
Huh?
I love that idea.
Yeah, we can do that. And plus, yes, sir. And plus, it get the youth out of the house. They can move snow. They can help their neighbors. Let's come up with some kind of plan to implement something like that. What do you think?
I think it's worth looking into at least.
Yeah, I think certainly it's something we could look into. Maybe you could tie it to the neighborhood centers if they're open. Something like that might be a way to get that way. You have a rally point for where to go and have some direction.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. We'd have to give it some thought and work out the issues and problems, but it's certainly something we could give some thought to.
Yes, sir.
Not dissimilar, and it's obviously not an apple to an apple, but dealing with hurricanes and their impact where I was before, you looked at geographically where your centers of, I know that Ms. Timmer and I talked about the hospital, this most recent storm. And to Gainell's point, there's always never enough people to do all the things necessary, especially in an inclement weather event.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things in creating options or talking about are the areas that we would say by way of, you say schools, we say hospitals, we say those other things. And what you find is by way of thinking about incentive is that third-party contractors are interested in a larger contract to which
Mm-hmm.
that we know that we can enlist them to. So if the expectation is that we bid and we see what we get, because you can get a decent to better price, right? And we say these are the geographic areas that you're responsible then. What then happens for us is that we then have we have the incentive that we create for a private business to do a function that we can't necessarily meet ourselves because of staffing. We also then have contractually an ability to say you didn't do your job. You didn't do it in a way. And so what it helps with, and I'd offer, is for you that have to report to constituents, if there's an expectation now that the city is responsible or helping with sidewalks, there's a third-party contractor to whom that we are contracted with, that we've geographically given you those areas that are impactful, resourceful, or that we need to have open, if you will. And so that's what we found, at least in looking, because we had a naval base and we had a port and we had some other things in making sure that it was accessible. So just as we start to think about ideas, that was one that came to my mind as something that I've worked with in the past. And I'm sure it's not something that's brand new. So I'm sure Gainell's probably dealt with it as well.
Ms. Reed?
I appreciate the conversation. I think one of the key phrases that was mentioned that I think is a separate conversation but is crucial is are the schools, the bus snow routes, because I know that was a big concern with this particular storm, and it is whenever we have snow, because that's the main reason that the schools are closed for for our city longer than the counties is because of how special our streets are and how challenging they are to maneuver with the buses and the street parking and everything. So I do think that that's a conversation that needs to be had and addressed on how we can, how the schools, the transportation department can work on that, because there was a lot of school missed. So, and I know that schools don't want that. The kids might want it. Parents don't want it. But we need to work on that conversation with the schools or whomever.
Director of operations for city schools, we plan to sit down here in July and just talk about what else can we do to help get schools in session, because both people were very brand new in their positions, and they didn't have a clear understanding of where they needed us to go.
Yeah.
So I think we need to have that discussion with them. Used to be city schools employees would get out and ride ahead of and actually identify streets that were ICM needed treatment, and we would follow up on those.
Right.
So I'm going to have that conversation with them.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, and I think we're kind of conflating two different things here, because snow routes and sidewalks are not exactly, it's not, I don't think that the sidewalks have anything to do with why the schools were closed. I think it was just an incredible incredible ice storm on top of a snowstorm that made a very challenging environment that we don't see here very often. And, we got to just be careful that we don't snap to some big heavy-handed government solution to something that is not a routine thing. The concern I have I think what the city manager mentioned about, contracting out to clear sidewalks and things like that, that's going to be another burden that we've got to pay for, and something that's just kind of hit me thinking about this whole thing when we're talking about the operations that Public Works does for snow removal versus enforcing some kind of sidewalk ordinance. Well, one is who's gonna do that. So I have video. I'll be happy to share it to you. My cul-de-sac where I live, about 30 to 40% of it has driveways, right? And 60% of it, there's no driveways. And Public Works pushed 4-foot mounds of snow and ice in front of the driveways and not against the curbs. And they pretty much, everybody in our cul-de-sac got pushed in, right? And it's just what happened. So, with that being the case, similar things could happen. Somebody could be out there clearing a sidewalk. Public Works could push a mound of snow right on top of the sidewalk they cleared. And you know what? I would not expect that citizen to have to get out there and dig that out. And again, if we put something in place, a rule, or we're going to enforce something with clearing sidewalks, what are we going to do if Public Works hasn't made it there yet? Because they're doing all they can with the people and the equipment that they've got because of a big storm. Is that fair that we put a rule in place where we're going to, impact citizens and say, hey, you got to clear our sidewalks, but we don't even do our part of the job to clear the streets yet? And I'm not saying anything against Public Works at all in that, because like this particular storm, it was a big one. And you guys were out working 24/7, doing everything you could to get the streets cleared. But we can't, if the city isn't done clearing the streets and clearing city sidewalks, I find it hard that we should be enforcing some kind of rule on the citizens that they need to be to a higher standard of what the city is providing. That's just kind of where I'm headed with that. But it's just want to make sure we're clear. It's two different things: as sidewalks versus roads and the snow routes. I get that, but I appreciate the conversation.
Just for conversation's sake, I had multiple conversations and emails where I was asking the question of, well, where are the snow routes?
Mm-hmm.
They don't exist. Well, why can't the schools be open? A bunch of the streets are clear. Sandusky was clear. I drove. Sandusky was clear. Enterprise was clear. Well, what gives? And when you go down the neighborhoods, and then the conversation I was having, well, it's because the sidewalks aren't clear. They can't get to the bus stops because it's too dangerous. So it is connected. I would contend it's connected. Again, I don't have a recommendation one way or the other. I know something needs to be done to enable sidewalks to be clear. I know it's held against me a lot, but I'm not from here. I grew up in the Northeast. When the snowplow comes, you get back out there and you dig out. That's part of it. It should be done to the best of their ability to not block you in, but and it does not help when it's 4 feet of ice rather than snow. But anyway, that might just be my upbringing. But
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we'll come up with something to help all citizens. Thank you. Roll call. Ms. Ferrari?
Thank you. Mayor, the conversation we had with the city attorney about the final action item, I think actually really warrants a great opportunity for us all to get together and come up with at least something that gets us to abide by the spirit of the law, address what needs to be addressed in our rules of procedure without going into all of that minutia. It was going to be my proposal, Mayor, that you consider 2 people to get together with staff, come up with what seems to make sense, bring it to council at a work session, vote on it, and get moving. Because I do think there are some changes in our rules that related to this item that will have to be addressed. I was going to proffer if the vice mayor and I would be willing to sit down with staff and say, hey, here's kind of the guidelines we're coming up with. I'm open to working with him on that. If not, I'm surely it is your pleasure, but that was going to be my recommendation, that we get something formalized so there's no ambiguity about how we'll go about introducing those changes.
Is that something you'd be interested in doing?
I'd be amenable to that. I think that's a good idea.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay.
One final item. The issue has gotten a great deal of attention, and nothing short of a bunch of narratives in the media being played before the public about flock cameras. I do think that it is going to be worth a conversation to at an upcoming work session and then public meeting to consider, to reconsider our agreement with flock cameras. That's not to say that we're going to void it, amend it, tweak it. I think it's worth having the conversation and potential vote on whether or not to reconsider it. Thank you.
Ms. Reed?
Okay, so this past week at the Boys and Girls Club, it was Superhero Week. And so the police department and the fire department stopped by and did a cookout for the kids, and they loved it. And our police chief and some of our other officers and lieutenants and talked to the kids and answered questions as superheroes for the city. And one of our fighters stopped by and she answered some questions, and they really enjoyed it. And we talked about how our firefighters and our police department are superheroes for the city, and the kids learned about how they can become firefighters and police officers. And we had a couple that were very intrigued and talked about all the stuff. So that was really cool. So we appreciate them coming by and talking to the Boys and Girls Club kids. That was fun. That was a highlight. And then one business item is, I know that a couple of council members have brought up the ordinance that we have about for renters, the 3 non-related family members restrictions. I will disclose that we do have rental properties. So I'm not speaking as a landlord because we only have 3-bedroom properties, but we have had many people in the city who have like 4-bedroom properties, but they can only rent to 3. We have many apartment complexes in the city that have 4 bedrooms and they can only rent to 3, although the counties are able to get 4 renters. We have a lot of investors that have invested in homes and then can only rent to 3. And so I understand the origin of this restriction. What is unfortunately happening is landlords are not always telling the tenants of the ordinance, and so they are renting to 4 or more. And what is then happening is our city, neighbors are reporting this, and then the city is getting reported to the city. The city is doing their job, but the tenants who are typically students then get kicked out mid-year for something that they didn't know anything about. And a lot of times, maybe the landlord was not informed because they didn't know when they purchased the property, and maybe that's a realtor issue. But whoever's fault it is, typically the tenant is the one who gets the raw end of the deal. I think it'd be worth the discussion, maybe at a future work session, to consider adjusting our ordinance to 4. I don't think it's unreasonable to consider it. It's happening a lot anyway. I know that there's going to be the risk of 5 and 6, and I think we do have to be cautious with that conversation. But there are a lot of 4-bedroom houses that people are renting, and there are 4-bedroom apartments that are sitting. I think it's, again, worth the conversation for the number of students that I've heard being kicked out of homes they didn't realize they weren't supposed to be in the first place. And so I would like to have the conversation.
Mr. White?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Staff intends to bring this item as part of our comprehensive plan update to you at the August meeting. So our intent there is to get some public feedback around the housing piece of our comp plan, and then marry that with the questions that we've heard and options. So we'll have that to you soon.
Cool.
Thanks.
Well, then great. That's all I got.
Dr. Wilder?
Thanks.
I just want to commend the city again on the large grant we got for like $24 million, whatever, for the project. I'm amazed about the city and the team they have, and whether the fire or police department, how they always get outside grants to help better our community. So I'm always amazed at our city staff and how they look for extra funds for our community. So I want to commend all the city staff for that project. And also this Saturday is the annual Laura Munson Day. It's going to be this Saturday, 8 o'clock at the historic White Rock Cemetery, which is on High Street. Laura Munson, she dedicated her life to helping Habitat, and also uncovered the White Rock Cemetery has been all covered up right near your neighborhood, which have been all covered up. So she kind of single-handedly, she was like in her 80s, single-handedly pretty much with Lynchburg College students and Liberty students kind of uncovered that and made it a respectful cemetery. So we have an annual day we honor her. She passed about in like 2010, I believe, something like that, whatever. But we have an annual day we go and kind of do some cleanup there. So we invite anyone to come out this Saturday from 8 to 10 o'clock. We would love to have more helpers there. It's a primarily former African-American cemetery. I don't think it's been used lately, any new bodies there. But again, it's so many historical significance there in the cemetery, such as Oda Benga is supposedly buried there. So we want to kind of treasure that cemetery. So anybody that's available, please come out and help on this Saturday from 8 to 10 off of High Street, right in the White Rock area.
Ms. Timmer?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a few quick items here. Many of you know I've been obsessed with the deer situation in Boonesboro. I have been working on that and researching that, and I have some items that I'll follow up with Alicia to bring to work session probably this fall, but I wanted to go ahead and put it out in roll call that's something that I've been working on. So I'll keep everyone updated, but just wanted to get it on the record, roll call. I'm working on deer. I mentioned this in PDC, but going ahead and following up on just our historic lists and records and what matches with state and federal and some of the sites that we have locally and how to highlight those and what needs council action, et cetera. So hopefully discuss that in PDC and then maybe develop some things to bring to a work session. And then this is just for council, because I apologize, I didn't get the email out earlier and I didn't want to put Alicia on the spot in the general business meeting. I've requested, I know I'm the minutes gal, but I've requested that we defer the batch of minutes until after the summer because I was reviewing those and I have a couple questions and I haven't been able to get through some because of a last minute work trip. So I've requested that so it doesn't take anybody by surprise and we can discuss that later, but I didn't want any surprises. So that's all I have at the moment. Thank you.
Mr. Mission.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple things. One is congrats to all the Lynchburg Aquatic League swimmers, kind of wrapping up swim season this week and moving into the two championship meets next weekend and the following weekend. I think it's important to recognize specifically with the notoriety that we've gotten recently in the media, having one of the only cities in the country to have two programs in the top 25, and the Lynchburg Aquatic League is actually a feeder into those two programs. So thanks to all the coaches and all the swimmers on that. It's been a good season. One other thing, I was listening to Matt's update on the downtown public safety coming in, and I saw that we got a note from the police chief that I haven't had a chance to read that memo yet. But really, if we're going to bring something back in August, what I'd really like to see is why aren't we enforcing this section 27-1.1 of City Code, obstructing free passage? I did a little research on it and actually found the News and Advance article after it got adopted. And it talks about how council toughened a city loitering ordinance that hadn't been touched since 1959 in hopes of keeping the city streets and even some privately owned areas clear of unwanted groups. The problem with the old ordinance, said City Attorney Walter Irwin, is it said you can't loiter, but there was no definition as to what loitering was. The new one is more specific. So I think, this is fairly recent. This is 1992. So this is one of those old 1950s, 1960s ordinances that we've had on the books ever since that huge ordinance write-up they did back in 1959. And then, interestingly enough, I found another one from 2004 that was in the editorial section of the News and Advance, where it was a thumbs up to the Lynchburg Police Department for winning a statewide award for a community initiative that has led to a safer neighborhood in the 1100 block of Taylor Street. Last summer, a police team aggressively patrolled the block and worked with neighbors in what they said was one of the worst areas in the city for criminal activity that involved drug dealing, loitering, and public drunkenness. And they specifically addressed how they used that obstructing free passage ordinance, the same one that former City Attorney Walter Irwin championed, that he was a part of, by putting in those definitions of what loitering is. I think that we really need to take a look at why we can't use that, if that's on the books, to crack down on what's happening downtown. Many of us have seen the videos and seen the stuff that's happened down there. And if people are not dispersing and leaving after places close, that's on them. That's on the citizens, the people that are out there that are loitering and obstructing free passage. They're breaking the law. We shouldn't be dropping the hammer on any businesses for what's happening outside of their business afterwards in public areas. So just want to make sure when we have that come back in August that we're getting a good presentation on what it's going to take for us to aggressively enforce that section of city code, because I think it's going to make a difference. And then the last piece that I have, kind of segueing off of what Councilmember Feraldi brought up, I've been doing a little research as well, and I really think the idea is great. And then I'm going to make sure Alicia knows that this is a roll call item to bring something to us in a work session in August, and I'll be happy to work with Mr. Friedman on this and the police chief. But with the Supreme Court decision in Shatry versus United States, that just happened, it made it clear that government access to certain historical location and movement data constitutes a Fourth Amendment search. So in light of that ruling, and consistent with our oath of office to uphold the Constitution of the United States, I think that it's prudent for us to one, revisit this, and two, we need to adopt a policy. And if that means that the council needs to tell the city staff that this is how it's going to be, but if it's a Fourth Amendment search, we need to make sure that if it's not a real-time hot list alert or some kind of exigent circumstance, that our police department is not accessing that data without a warrant. And I think that we need to make sure that we're upholding the rights of our citizens to make sure that their location data is not being accessed, because that's what's being kind of the web that's being created with this flock system is real-time location data for people in our city. And the Supreme Court has said that accessing certain historical location movement data constitutes a Fourth Amendment search. So I think in light of that ruling, we need to look at a resolution that's going to kind of either tighten up policy on how that information is accessed. But at this point, I'm kind of leaning towards the whole idea of revisiting that whole agreement reconsidering that whole agreement. So I want to see something that we can put together to present in a work session in August, and that we could actually take a vote on in September with that. So I'll talk to you offline on that, Matt, and we'll see what we can come up with. That's what I got. Thank you.
Mr. Dema.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I didn't intend to talk about Flock, but it's come up twice, and I definitely think a lot of this new technology was adopted without a lot of oversight from council, and I would be in favor of trying to redress that a little bit, come back up with some policies that they're good for safety as well as for privacy for our citizens. They're both important, and they're not mutually exclusive. We can deal with both of them, and I think it's incumbent on council to do so. I certainly don't want to expand any policies or put out a whole lot of new cameras without having some solid guidelines and guardrails, I guess would be the way to make sure that data is. I love the technology. I have the technology in my home. I love it when it's privately used. My real comment today was completely different, but I want to recognize the citizens of Lynchburg for what they have done, and the role they're playing in making our city a safer city. According to the Lynchburg Police Department 2025 annual report, violent crime declined by 10%, homicides down by 11%, burglaries dropped 13%, motor vehicle thefts down 22% over the past year. These are obviously encouraging numbers, and I'm happy to report those and give extra attention to them. Involved citizens can fix snow and ice problems, and they can also fix camera surveillance problems. They can fix crime problems, and it's really the best way when citizens are active and responsible. They can decide whether an elderly person should be cleaning their driveway or whether they're going to go help that neighbor. Okay, and that's the good citizens of Lynchburg that do that 1,000 times a day in this city, and I want to recognize them for that, because that's what makes Lynchburg a beautiful city to live in, and one that I've loved living in my whole life. Responsible citizens mean taking ownership of their neighborhoods. You know, whether it's the sidewalk shoveling or picking up litter or reporting suspicious activity, organizing neighborhood watches, or simply checking in on those who live nearby. Strong communities are the bedrock of Lynchburg, and those that don't wait for someone else to solve all the problems are the best citizens of all. So government has an important role. Our police department does a great job, but it cannot replace engaged citizens. Safe neighborhoods are created by people who know their neighbors, care about their streets, take pride in the place that they call home. And I just want to thank the residents for doing that, and the neighborhood associations, the business, the faith communities out there, the colleges and universities, Chief Edwards and the members of the Lynchburg Police Department. I'm very appreciative of the work they do that has resulted in this positive news for our city. Working together to make Lynchburg a safer and stronger city is all our jobs. We don't expect our public servants to do it all, and we don't let them do it all. I watch people in my neighborhood helping each other every single day, and that's what makes Lynchburg special. So thank you to the citizens of Lynchburg.
Thank you all. I have one thing. We do have a trash problem. Landlords when they evict people, they throw the stuff out on the street and expect for our public works to pick it up. I think they ought to be accountable for their own trash. When I have something to throw away, I put it on my truck and take it to the dump. I don't pile it up on our city streets and wait for public works to come and get it. So we need to make landlords aware when they evict people, you're responsible for taking that junk to the trash, to the dump. Even though we pay our public works good, personal responsibility goes a long ways in a lot of stuff. That's your stuff. You take it to the dump. Thank you. Next item. Closed session.
Yes, sir. Consideration of a closed meeting to discuss appointments for vacancies to the following boards and commissions: Central Virginia Community College Board of Directors, Historic Preservation Commission, Martin Luther King Jr. Lynchburg Community Council, Museum Advisory Board, Economic Development Authority, Building Code of Appeals Board, and Business Development Center, pursuant to Section 2.2-3711A1 of the Code of Virginia, 1950, as amended.
I do have one question.
Yes.
Mayor, staff has already left. I guess the status of the Business Development Center is probably a legitimate question going into these board appointments. Do we know what the status of that is with it?
So we're in the process of discussing the dissolution of the BDC and how that's going to go. So until City Council makes the decision, as I understand it, to release the BDC and the serving board members, you could probably continue with the appointments. That might be a good practice just because we don't have a set timeline on how that will play out.
Okay, may I have a motion to go into closed session?
So moved. Second.
All right, I'll call for the voice vote.
Call for the vote.
Councilmember Feraldi? Councilmember Mischens?
Yes.
Councilmember Reed? Councilmember Timmer?
Yes.
Councilmember Wilder?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Deemer?
Yes.
Mayor Taylor?
Yes.
We are in closed session. are officially open.
Okay. We have a motion on certification.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any noes?
No.
Wait, which one?
As in, like,
Okay, thank you.
I'll make a motion to, if you can read those appointments. Are you able to read those appointments that we're making?
Sure, I can do that.
I'll make a motion to appoint those individuals to those boards.
You would go
If
down
you
through the
can
list.
read them out loud, that'd be
Sure.
great.
For Martin Luther King Jr. Lynchburg Community Council, you are reappointing Dupree Poe, and then you are appointing Sharon Simpson. Historic Preservation Commission, you are reappointing Peter Alexander. For Lynchburg Business Development Center, you are appointing Reed Lanham. For Museum Advisory Board, you are reappointing Kincaid Garland, Laura Crumbly, Michelin Hall, Hermina Hendricks, Lisa Richards, Jessica Watts. For Central Virginia Community College, you are reappointing Dr. Justin Hensley. For Economic Development Authority, you are reappointing Sean Hewitt and Sackett Wood. For Building Code Appeals Board, you are appointing Jennifer Luckadoo, Stephanie Cox, Logan Bossiger, Samuel Horchowski, Philip Pantano Jr., James Hurt, and Brandy George.
I'll make that
No discussion.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, we're recessed.
This, excuse me.
I think we're recessed.
Yes, ma'am. This conclude our work session. Our next meeting is at 7 o'clock.